In this video, we're going to look at display options, mouse buttons, and editing components. So you'll notice over here in the Rhino window that we can see our two circles. And when I click on either of the circle components, they become highlighted green as the active component. So that's one part of the display. If I right-click on this component, I have a few things that I can do. So right now preview is on. It's highlighted blue. If I click on that, you'll notice that this component changes to a dark gray and it is no longer displayed in the Rhino window. You can do the same thing with the larger circle. Right-click, preview. It is dark gray. It is no longer displayed. So I can turn those back on the same way. There are also some display options along the top bar here. So this right here, this cylinder with half highlighted green, it says draw preview geometry only for selected components. So if I click on that, you'll notice that I have stopped having my circles displayed in the Rhino window. But if I click on either of these, they're shown again. I personally do not like having this option on. I find it confusing, but I've had a lot of times where I was working through a definition and I couldn't understand why something wasn't displaying, and it was because that option had been selected. If we look to the left of this, you'll notice a solid-looking cylinder, and that changes the display. So if we had solid geometry over here, it would show it shaded, just like shaded in Rhino. The next one is wireframe. And the one after that is to not show any preview geometry. So if that's clicked, once again, even though these components are individually previewed, they're not showing up here. Wireframe is my typical go-to, but know that you've got a few options over here. I have not played with either the preview mesh quality or the document preview settings. I tend to just keep this on wireframe. Okay, so if we wanted to edit some of these components, like this panel for example, if you double click with the left mouse button, it'll pop the panel open, and then we can change the information in here. So I could move my circle up 12 units in space by changing the last value of this point, and now that's moved up. I can also change this slider. So if I click over here where it says radius, it'll bring up the slider window. If your slider wasn't attached, it would say slider over here. You just want to click in the dark gray spot. And then you have the option to name the slider. So if I wanted to call this something other than radius, I don't know why I would, but let's just say I'll call it R. That's going to change the display. You can also change the type of number that your slider is outputting. So it could be a floating point number, which means that it has values after 0. It can be an integer. It could be an even number or an odd number. There are times when that would be useful. You can manually change your minimum and maximum values, and you can also change your starting value here. So you can either do that by double-clicking and typing, or you can slide this here. So let's say we want to be able to have more control. We'll change this to a 3-digit floating point number. You can also change the number of digits after the decimal place. Click OK. And now you'll notice that my range of values, or the values that the slider can be, has changed, and that I changed the name just to R. Additionally, if you click, rather than in the dark gray, in the light gray part of this component, you can just manually edit the starting value. So it doesn't bring up the entire slider window, but you can change your current value rather than your starting value. So if I wanted this to be 20, you can go ahead and type 20, and it will be at that value.